So this is the first Insta-licks video. This is a new format. Please do let me know down below how I can improve this, what you would like to see more of, what you want to see less of. I've just chucked in this very first video all the stuff that I think is important, but please do let me know how I can help you guys more. You've probably seen the video already on Instagram, that's why you're here. This is the one we're doing today. So looking at the line, that's the tab and the notation. And you can probably see there's quite a lot of conflict here with the harmony written above the line and the notes of the line themselves. So in this video, I want to explain how I chose the notes. This line itself is a 16251. It's the rhythm changes progression. So you're going to hear this in any set of tunes based on rhythm changes. I got rhythm anthropology and so many more. So let's break this line down a little bit. So the original change is the 16251 progression in the key of B flat. It's going to be B flat, G minor 7, C minor 7, F7 and B flat, as you can see above the line there. I've left the B flats ambiguous because I would completely at will change between major 7 and a 6 chord on those. So I'll just leave that up to you. I don't use one more than the other. I swap them all the time. Now let's look at the construction of this line. This is the implied harmony, and like I've written here, to me figuring out the true harmony for a line is the most advanced part of modern line construction. Now just to very quickly define what I mean by true harmony, there is not one true set of chord changes for any particular song. I think you could argue that the composer themselves knew the original harmony, but as you know by listening to your favourite players, the chords are open to interpretation and can be swapped out. One of the biggest bits of advice that I can give you from my own journey as a budding jazz guitarist is don't worry so much about the harmony. Basically anything goes, and actually spend some time deliberately breaking the rules, deliberately not worrying about exactly what notes have to go here. And that's where some of the really interesting lines come from. However, on this particular set of changes, this is the chord progression that I'm hearing in my head. It sounds something like this. So that's a really nice voice-led line to my ear, and it moves us really nicely, functionally doing the same job as the 1625 does. Let's hear that one more time. So I hope you'd agree that's got a really nice flow to it, that. And that's the foundation for what I'm thinking of as I wrote this line. I was thinking of those changes or variations on them rather than the original changes themselves. So if we come back to our line, let's explain how that process works. Now I don't want to get into too much detail today, I want to keep this brief, but people who've worked with me before, you'll remember that generally speaking, I like to keep the theory to an absolute minimum. So I genuinely believe all you need to know scale-wise is the major scale. Any sound that you hear elsewhere can be justified using the major scale, and in future licks I'll get into that in more detail. The other thing you need to know is you need to know the notes of chords. So you need to know how chords are built, in particular the big 5 chords, but there's other chords as well. Combining your knowledge of the major scale and your knowledge of chord tones, I think all the sounds that you want to create can be found. You don't need to be learning endless scales, in my opinion. This first phrase here, we're starting with just a B flat major scale. You can see I've color coded these, so red for the B flat major scale. And that first line is, and that's just B flat major scale there, up in the 10th position. That's all I'm thinking of there, B flat major scale. Now over the G minor 7, this is probably one of the more interesting sections of this lick. G minor 7 is the original change, but I'm thinking of the G flat 6/9 arpeggio, which you probably better know as the major pentatonic. Again, in the construction, at this point of the chart, I was imagining a G flat 7. If you're a classical nerd, you might know as an augmented 6 chord. G flat 7 is the chord I'm thinking of, and therefore I'm playing a G flat major pentatonic. G flat major pentatonic, or any major pentatonic, works nicely over a 7 chord, as you probably know. And in this case, because I'm thinking of a G flat 7, I'm playing a G flat 6/9 arpeggio, which is the way I like to think about it. But again, you probably better know that as the major pentatonic. And so that's this purple box here. Just a nice little line in the pentatonic. I'm literally just going up through the scale there. It's got everything I need in it. Next is the yellow box. This is original chord is C-7. And that's what I'm thinking of in my construction as well. I'm just thinking of the C-7 pentatonic as well. So again, this as a chord would be a C-11, but you probably better know this is a minor pentatonic. And I'm just descending through that one. So I've literally just basically descended through a B flat major scale with one note missing, then ascending through a G flat 6/9 arpeggio, then descending through a C minor pentatonic, which is just C minor 11 arpeggio. Then at this point, this is probably as complicated as this lick gets. A diminished 7 is the chord I was originally thinking of in my construction here, A diminished 7. As some of you may know, the diminished 7 chord is symmetrical in minor thirds. We'll get into that in more detail in future videos if that's not clear to you, so don't worry about that for today. But if you do understand what I'm saying there, then you know that A diminished 7 is also C, is also E flat, is also G flat, F sharp, you name it. What I do with a diminished chord is I think of it as being the third of a dominant. So A diminished 7 is the third of F7. However, because A diminished 7 is symmetrical, it can be the third of lots of other chords as well. So I'm going to think of this A diminished 7 as an E flat or a D sharp diminished 7. And therefore I'm going to think in terms of B7 because D sharp is the third of B, like A was the third to F. And so over this F7 chord, I'm actually thinking of a B7 chord and more specifically a B13. So I'm starting here with fret 13 on the G, which is a G sharp. That's the 6th degree or the 13th of B. And then I'm just descending through a B arpeggio with the 7 in there as well. So it's a B7 arpeggio starting on the 6. And then finally resolving to the F, which is the B flat chord. So to finish there. Again, that F comes from the B flat major scale, which is why it's also red. So in that line there, there's two instances where I'm superimposing some harmony. I'm imagining some other harmony, and that's the purple box and the orange box. The others, I'm just playing what you would naturally play anyway, which is a major scale or maybe a minor pentatonic there on the yellow box. Now, finally, what about the comping? So remember, the comper doesn't know about all this clever implied harmony stuff that we're thinking about. We're doing that behind the scenes. The comper's just cracking on with the original changes. I've just given an example of, in the background of this video, of something that I would do if I was a comper. You can see the implied chords that I'm doing here as a comper. By itself, this sounds something like this. Something along those lines. So again, as I've written here, the comper doesn't know about our implied changes. They stick to something more closely approximating the original changes. The best advice for comping is to break the chords up. 2 or 3 notes at a time can be more than enough. There's one instance here, or 2 instances where I'm actually playing 4 notes at the same time, which is the F altered 7 and the B flat 6/9. But everything else you can see I'm mostly just using single or 2 notes at a time. And that's the way I like to comp. I like to really break the chords up. Not only is it technically easier because you're only ever playing smaller chunks, but it just leaves more space for the soloist to play over. It also leaves more space for interpretation of these chords. You know, if we just are playing 2 notes rather than playing like a full 6-note chord that's very much set in stone, it leaves the listener and the soloist to have a bit more creative license. I suppose leaves space for other compers as well, so you can comp simultaneously. So if you'd like to dive into any of these topics more, I've got a free course which you can check out. The link will be below. Some really nice comments here from people about the free course. We cover everything that I think you need to know. We introduce those topics, and it's all about low theory but getting really clear results using the theory that you guys probably already know, rather than having to learn endless new theories that don't seem to be applicable or relevant to your playing. So these are the topics that I encourage my students to work on, and I would encourage you to do the same. So check out that free course. Please do leave some comments below about how I can make this format better. Otherwise, thanks very much for checking this out, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.